Hello Strategos Discipuli, my name is AlzaboHD. In today's challenge video, we are going to try and civilize the world as a Roman warlord, and see if the pen is truly mightier than the sword in ancient antiquity. Salve, and welcome to the world of Anno 117, a city-building strategy game developed by Ubisoft, who are the sponsor of today's video. We've braved the barbarous islands of Britain in our previous Celtic challenge video, and this time, it's time to flip the script and play the Roman way. Faced against advanced and expansionist AIs, an emperor who hates our aggressive ambitions, and the constraints of tiny islands in a resource-deprived world, it's time to see if we, unlike our Italian ancestors, can rule the waves and conquer the world of Latium. Before starting our campaign in 117 AD, it's worth noting you can play through a single-player campaign to learn the game with your choice of either Marcus or Marcia. This narrated tutorial guides you through the basics of the game, but this is intended for beginners and is not the Alzabo way. Today, we're playing free play in advanced mode, and we'll play as the archetypical Roman governor, a senatus, the etymological origin for old man. The Latin equivalent of AlzaboHD is Alzabix Princeps Fidelitas, but that's too much text for the box, so we'll roll with AlzaboHD. To add a challenge and make urban design more tricky, we're going to roll with small islands on an archipelago world, as it's not the size that counts, but how you use it. Historically, Roman cities were designed in a grid-based fashion, known as an insula, and as we are Roman, we will seek to replicate this design in our domain. To round out our campaign, we'll be playing against an Iberian farmer, a pious Vestal virgin, and a science witch from Mesopotamia, who are all worthy and advanced rivals, plus of course the emperor, who ironically doesn't like military expansion. Rome wasn't built in a day, but in this narrated video, it might as well be, so we'll be in our story in 117 AD on an island within the Aegean Sea. If we're gonna wage war against the world and get gold Latium and Latium, we'll first need to build up an economy and industry. Our starter island is richly endowed in dolphins, trees, and that's about it. But we do have a trading port and a fancy capital ship. Creating a city in Anno requires lumber, and Alzabix's first order as governor would be to find suitable shrubberies nearby and craft woodcutters spaced evenly for maximum efficiency. Next, we'll need roads, lumber yards, and depots so that our green hat smurf serfs can get to work making us building materials, and we'll connect it all to our port to unite the resources to our island trade depot. Of course, we'll need huts to house our wood elves, and I've gotta say, they look a lot fancier than the mud hovels of Albion. Roman towns are built along grids known as centratio, and we'll place 2x2 housing parallel to our central road, known as a decumanus maximus. The diet of our servant class of laborers sadly consists of sardines, which probably taste as pleasant as their enticing aroma, and before long we've got hunchback laborers and the basics of a Roman colonia or colony. Since Alzabix is a Proto-Italian, he reckoned it's better to be loved than feared, and thus our prince bought surplus wood from his leprechaun volunteers that he used to create markets along the Via Appia. This isn't a nudist colony, and servants need clothing, so it's high time to demarcate lands to the north for hemp production. These fields will produce the fabric needed to make tunics and adjacently placed sweatshops, and will evict the freedmen from downtown to make room for a tavern to sell craft beers. More than 100 liberti now live in our colonia, and we'll celebrate by planting scenic shrubberies, but our economy is far from healthy. The best way to turn a profit is to provide our citizens what they need, which in this case are slabs of sheepskin they call hats. With 4 fields of flufers and a corresponding amount of pileus production studios, we're making money for the first time in history, which corresponds to our promotion as a minor city. Speaking of cities, we still need to name our own, and Alzabix ordained his home as Alzabopolis. There's a world outside our window, and it's a world of dread and fear, and thus we'll send out our capital ship to explore new lands we can defend our way into once we have an army. With our freemen having all needs met, we can promote them into women, known as the plebeians, who are a new type of citizen and a tier 2 upgrade. These hooded ladies allow our polity to harvest clay along our river, which we can employ to make tile factories to access more advanced buildings. We'll place these industrial facilities and their corresponding charcoal burners far away from Vetus Portum, or the Old Port, as they have the tendency to create fires, and soon development will sprawl across our island and into the highlands. Our scout ship reports a sighting of an elder even older than ourselves, and will be friendly for now, as we respect Concordia's position as a Vestal virgin. Alzabix's priority is the pursuit of knowledge, as only by unlocking technology can he attain military superiority, and just as before, our ship has explored the second rival of our campaign. Zaranitu is an aggressive expansionist and will greet her warmly for now, as her capital Andromeda is huge and already boasts a governess's villa. Our island is impoverished in comparison and work set out to create wheat farms to produce bread to feed our gluten-powered puellas. Further developments to our insula have led to 400 citizens within our nation and the ability to create military and civic buildings. Naturally, the perfect location is the most defensible, which Alzabix named Mount Olympus, and a very long boulevard of broken dreams, itself an empty street, connected our starter slums with the future of Roman luxury and civility. Our governor decreed that all women be moved immediately to accompany him in his future villa area, and these Tier 2 citizens benefited from our island's first library. It is well known that women love books and literature, and the two rival governors showered Alzabix in money, which he used to fulfill the male fantasy of creating iron factories and military-industrial capacity. The foundation of his governor's villa coincided with an unwashed Iberian farmer, himself the third rival governor, approaching the mansion, and Alzabix mocked his shabby clothing and scent of sardines. You can actually pick up entire areas in Anno 1.17 and move them, which is really useful, and we'll build a barracks up here to build up our future army. Unlike our house elf servants, plebeians are upper-class women and desire sanitation and soap. So our next goal will be to plant fields of lavender, construct industrial renderers, and set up soap factories powered by pig bile to complete the process of production. Our leader's love for his maidens culminated in his choice of Ceres as patron goddess, as her worship will multiply our island's population to perhaps unintentionally create more soldiers. Even the Emperor became interested in our increasing relevance, but Alzabix hid the fact that his city was on fire during the imperial tour of Alzabopolis. Our assigned servant and probable eunuch suggested it was thus time to party, and so our polity worshipped the goddess of cereal as it advanced into a major imperial city. There's simply no Festivus, quite like a hemp and lavender party, but not everyone was invited. This newfound industry corresponded with a booming economy, and we can sell the surplus on the global market for increased shareholder value. What's the point of wealth if you can't hoard it behind a gated community armed with a private military? And soon our merchant marine discovered an island wealthier than our own. We have more than 1,000 citizens, and it's time to think offensively by creating naval production facilities, but we don't converse with, much less accept a gift from those beneath us. Polieshkopolye, the fields are growing, and purple plants separate those that have from those that eat only sardines. Industrial opportunities await those on the soldier side of the river, but even the Beati need hovels from which to grovel. Fortunately for them, Alzabix had the perfect location in mind and ordered the creation of the district of Sardinia. This fish-only area smells like a mixture between reefer and sardines, and despite its dreadful reputation, has solved our worker shortage and catapulted our nation into the status of a vast imperial city. Effectively, this district has doubled our population, which means we have the manpower to hire a rudimentary army consisting of 2 auxiliaries and an archer. Militaries in Anno 1.17 directly subtract from your workforce, which means we still need a few hundred to a few thousand more sardine soldiers, and the separate yet unequal low-born district of Orto Animo, or Braveheart, was constructed outside of the gated Mount Olympus to serve this need. The Alzabro army had hired its first archer regiment, which only meant one thing: the slums must grow, but also we could use our forces for good and spread Roman civilization to those that needed it most. Alzabix commissioned a second trireme for the Royal Navy and looked down upon the land he had built in his own image. This was but one island among many, and our generous governor sought to spread a message of harmony with his 4-regiment army to those impoverished polities that needed peace, love, and understanding. The Imperial Navy thus set out southwards to the rural and mismanaged land of Terragone with the goal of a swift and tailored victory. Here at AlzaboHD, it is an Anno tradition to fight this rival farmer, and this time his barracks lie exposed and his city vulnerable to liberation. Terragone's pathetic attempts to train his men under fire was tragically humorous, and Alzabix ordered his men to re-embark on the capital ship for transport to the harbor side of the island. Here, our defenders disembarked and destroyed the peasants' capital ship, but nearly lost our own in the process. For a bloodthirsty warlord, the Roman Emperor sure has the unfortunate tendency to sell peace, but who's buying? And we'll ignore his request entirely and push into the island. His workers are dedicated and brought supplies directly to our army, but his lack of ranged units and numerical inferiority spelled defeat for the peasant army. The addition of a repair crane at home would eventually repair our flagship to ship shape, but for now, our soldiers were on their own. Our Alzabo army crossed the Rubicon and sought an audience with the governor, and while one auxiliary had fallen, another fishmonger was recruited to take its place. It took a few deaths and a little time, but Terragone's mansion was now redesigned, friendly reinforcements were finally here, and Segovia lay subjugated and secured. In keeping with his name, Terragone was gone, and his island lay under the vassal control of an ominous purple shadow, but our work was far from over. One down and 2 to go, so let's bring our boys back home and reconsolidate the fractured regiments, hire more boats for our navy, and that is an obscene amount of money. At this point, we can afford an armory, a litany of new levies, and a growing navy, but to truly dominate his neighbors, Alzabix ordered his maidens to research legionary technology. It didn't matter that our city was burning down, because only one mission mattered: Round 2 naval boogaloo and the total annihilation of the Vestal Virgin Nation. By this time, the Alzabix Armada numbered 4 triremes transporting 6 regiments of army veterans, but the rate in which Zara was expanding meant that we had no time to waste in our clash against Concordia. A tugboat, which can only generously be described as our flagship, was deleted immediately by our exploratory forces, and all 6 Liberi levies landed upon the beaches of Aluminum. With the depot down, our forces burned the towers protecting her town, and rallied to meet the foe on the fields of battle. She's outnumbered 6 to 2, and this isn't a fair fight, which led to her army courageously advancing backwards into crimson-stained fields. Unfortunately, this war would not be as easy as Terragone, as Concordia barricaded her villa with defensive fortifications, and our only option would be to bear a rain of arrows while we painstakingly burned down the walls. Simp Supreme, better known as the Roman Emperor, demanded Alzabix to cease in the spread of his hearts and mind campaign, and that's nullo modo. 38 men paid the ultimate price and cost of Concordia to get invited inside the city, and her remaining towers, archers, and pelters made this all feel like playing the NPC in a tower defense mobile game. Fortunately, the advent of legionary technology meant we could replace our expendable peons with heavy infantry. Army losses are only a statistic, and the fishmen that had fallen were replaced more or less instantly via ferry. The second and final tower had fallen, and Mater Teresa fled the city before her mansion became a parking lot for Alzabix's army. This marks the second of 3 governors deleted from the chronicles of Roman history, and her island fell under the rule of another purple presence known within the game as vassalization. Of our 6 regiments alive at the start of the war, about 60% survived and were able to sail home, but rest and relaxation was not in store for the exhausted soldiers of our nation. Congratulations, veterans. Your family have the bubonic plague and your huts are on fire, but we will offer you payment in the form of sardines and sheepskin clothing. Half of our levies had by now been upgraded into legionaries in preparation for our 3rd and final world war. More boats were built to transport our growing army, and more than 400 soldiers embarked to set out to their certain demise. Zara Nitu's imperial capital of Andromeda was massive, featured triple-layered gates and tower defense turrets, and this war is certain to be by far the most costly in human lives any of our men had seen thus far. Nitu controls 6 islands that entirely surround our state, that we know of, and while her army was practically non-existent, her naval power and towers greatly outnumbered our own forces. It is for this reason Alzabix silently sailed to an unprotected flank of her capital in a surprise invasion and declared a limited war to hopefully decapitate her primary city in one fell swoop. The first target would be to take out her capacity to recruit more levies, and thus her barracks became one with the earth. Despite her own forces numbering nearly 500 soldiers, she possessed half as many levies and triple the amount of men and tower archers, and Alzabix thus was forced to withdraw and retreat to preserve the composition of his military. If we can succeed in singling out her navy and picking them off one by one, we might have a chance to blockade and divide her sprawling empire. Unfortunately, war doesn't always go as planned, and Zara used our weakness as an opportunity to attack the coast of our capital city. She destroyed a regiment of our tower boys, and was rewarded with her own new fleet of submarines. Our lending hand of the Crane Arm allowed Alzabex to repair his navy after each engagement, and he decreed that if Zidu was content to sit her soldiers in Andromeda, he'd snatch every other tract of land she had that was not yet defended by walls or fortifications. The northwestern island of Masura was first to fall to the Purple Void, and her wails of surrender were ignored as our gravy navy was only getting started. Alma Mater is the next target on our list, and fell without complication. Calcudus marked the third rule of acquisition, and the Emperor ran out of patience when we declined his demand for peace, rendering Alzabex an official threat to the SPQR. Zitu's fourth island of fall presented a token resistance, but by maneuvering our boats in and out of range, our navy sustained barely a scratch, and these vassal islands had by now surrounded her capital polity. If we are to win this war, we will need to annex Andromeda. Thus, our navy approached from the less densely defended southern coast. All 440 infantry disembarked in the largest amphibious operation in antiquity, and assaulted the first layer fort protecting this fortified fiefdom. The Mesopotamian maiden rallied her military to meet our soldiers with cold steel, but her auxiliaries were routed by our legionaries and their heavy armor. Some dozen or so Alzabros had fallen, but our regiments were still intact, which meant only the central colossal citadel remained. 8 gates, 6 turret towers, and the villa's defensive archers meant that this was now or never, and though all of you will die, that's a price I'm willing to pay. We're losing 10 soldiers every 30 seconds, have losses so large our levies are running away, but the first gate was finally down, with only 1 layer remaining. One can't help but feel bad for these brave men who fight only for glory and a salary of seafood, and taking down both gates had half their numbers to around 220 remaining warriors. This is by far the most defended city I've ever seen. A quarter of our forces routed and ran to their death, but the villa had finally fallen, with those that survived barely managing to secure the land and capture the final capital in our world. For the first time in our campaign, we will agree to an imperial peace, spend 30,000 denarii to annex the island under direct control, and reap the spoils of the toil of those now under our rule. Kaiser wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer, but actually there were, and despite being hated by Rome, the Emperor awarded us the right to unite the islands of the West, likely in an attempt to remove us as a threat. The Imperial Roman fleet returned to Alzabopolis as conquerors of the known world, and of the 440 soldiers that served in the Zarunidu campaign, only 81 returned home alive, giving the average soldier in Alzabex's army an 18% survival rate. Our house elf proposed a triumph and festival of conquest in honor of our glorious victory, and the governor himself was carried down the Cardo Maximus from the heights of Mount Olympus. Alzabex Princeps Fidelitas now ruled over a realm arguably more powerful than that of the Emperor, and the lucky soldiers that survived were converted into fishmongers to serve in Sardinia. 420 means that our citizens aren't working, and that's probably because the malevolent Mesopotamian maiden burned down half of our island's fishing facilities. There are 7 districts of Alzabopolis, numbering nearly 4,000 people, and 8 islands within our state, so it's finally time we take a look at an overview of the world as it exists in 118 AD. The core of our historic city is located within the district of Vetis Portum, or Old Port. This district is poor, consists entirely of Libierti, has no healthcare, and is populated by 1/3 of the 3,000 menial laborers of our polity. To the east is Ashenvale, which is forested, sparsely populated, and produces more than 1/2 of our timber, charcoal, iron, and weapon facilities. The center of our island boasts the sprawling Elysian fields, which produce all of our hemp, flour, and lavender, and is worked by both plebeians and house elves alike. Following the arterial roads westwards is the district of Sardinia, a slum that is marginally richer than Vetis Portum. This hood smells absolutely horrendous on account of its fish-based industry, which feeds the entire diet of our working poor, and is prone to fires that wipe out the area every other year. To the north is the largest district, known as Orti Animo, or Braveheart. This mixed residential district is the wealthiest of the lower-class areas, and hosts the soldiers and farmers of the adjacent lavender fields. We've saved the best for last, and our 7th and richest district is Mount Olympus, with the governor's villa. This highly protected and gated community hosts only Tier 2 citizens and above, aka all of the island's women, boasts fantastic views, and is the only place in Alzabopolis that doesn't smell of fish and hemp. We have 8 islands, of which 4 are under direct control, and our nemesis, Zaronitu, has been expelled to the 5 most remote islets in Latium. Our other controlled islands include Patriarchopolis with 700 people, Ruinopolis with nearly 200 citizens, and Nothingopolis, which was so neglected that everyone seemingly starved and disappeared. The capital of our polity produces every Tier 1 and Tier 2 resource in vast quantities, and sells them to anyone willing to overlook our aggressive expansion. Our nation is the richest in the world with nearly 100,000 denarii, and far to the west, Albion waits for us to spread our civilization to their shores. Before ending the video, I'd like to thank Ubisoft and Anno 117 for sponsoring today's video, and be sure to support the channel by buying the game with the link shown on screen and in the description box below. Anno 117 is out now and is cross-platform compatible so that you can play with your friends on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox in cooperative or competitive modes. Both the campaign and free play modes allow multiple players, so be sure to pick up the game for your next Festivus. Let me know in the comments below how often you think of the Roman Empire, and if you want to see more Anno, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel to support AlzaboHD for free. Vale, and see you next time. It's time now for the credits.